What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Total Drama Island. I'm your host, Jigsaw. Welcome back to another thrilling episode of the Big Fish Podcast, the Guinness World Record holder for the coolest podcast ever. Look, I'm holding it up right now. Oh wait, this is audio only, so just take my word for it. Don't worry about it. But speaking of Guinness, I'm sitting down in this imaginary studio with a man, a meme who has taken the world of Instagram by storm with his popular music shitposting, his epic YouTube channel, recently born and thriving YouTube channel. Ladies and gentlemen, if you will be so inclined, please put your hands together for Patrick, the Okayest Computer. What's up, my boss?
Hi, how you doing? It's good to be here. I'm really excited about this.
Sweet, that's what I like to hear.
Nice, yeah.
How you doing, boss man? How was your day today?
I think it's been a pretty chill day for me. I've done a lot of work on the YouTube channel, finishing up editing the video that's going to go up tomorrow, as well as writing future videos. So it's been a lot of work on the channel today. I've definitely been keeping myself busy. But I've mostly just been preparing for this because I'm very, very excited about this.
Oh, well, thank you. I like to hear that.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to this.
Have you done many podcasts?
I haven't, actually. This is actually my first time being on a podcast.
Hey, look at that.
Yeah, this is gonna be good, and I'm hoping for many, many more in the future, whenever that may be.
See, this is opening the doors to all the other podcasts that are going to want a piece of the Okayest Computer.
Maybe so. Yeah, I'm open to that.
See, that's what we're looking for. So, I guess we'll start the creation of the madness. Where did you get the idea to start a meme page, if that's what you call it? I don't know. What do you call it as, a meme page?
That is what I call it, because that is what it is. I don't really plan on changing that. No matter how long I plan on doing this, I think that it's always going to stay rooted in memes and in music-related humor. So the origin of the Okayest Computer was boredom. I was on a road trip somewhere in summer of 2019. It was late July, early August, sometime around there. And I was really bored, and I was looking at some other music Instagram accounts because I had just discovered those pretty recently. And I was like, you know what? I feel like this could be a good time if I did one of my own. So why not make my own? So it originally started as a second account, as a backup account, because I had a main Instagram that was just my name. It's still up, but I don't really post on it very often. And so the Okayest Computer originally started as a backup to that account. And I would just post these low-effort memes, whatever I could come up with. And I made them all on my phone in a free Photoshop app. Because, Sweet. That's what I saw other people doing. I tried to think of, what do people enjoy seeing and how can I do that with the minimal resources I have. And after I did that for a few days, then people started to notice it. And this was outside of just people I knew. There were other music Instagram accounts that saw what I was doing and they liked it. Mostly because I actually reached out to them and I was like, hey, I really like your work, and so I feel like starting this. The first one that actually got me started was Licky is Here, if you know that one. Great account. And that was actually the main source of inspiration for me. It was Licky is Here, music shitposting, and Page for Music Chads. Those were the accounts that made me want to start doing this. And so I reached out to them, and they were really nice about it, and some of them that I reached out to shared my content on their stories, and that was when people started to notice it. That got me quite a few followers in the first few weeks. That was wonderful. Very, very grateful for that. And then I made a post about the needle drop, Anthony Fantano, because I saw that he was a hot topic in the music community. So I thought, that's what people want to see, so I'll make a post about that. So I did a meme where I put his head on Evil Empire by Rage Against the Machine. And that was the one that really kicked things off because he noticed it, a bunch of other meme accounts noticed it, everybody loved it, and so it really blew up. It got 1,000 likes in the first day, and I was shocked. I didn't think that would happen. And that was mostly because, Anthony himself, he shared it on his story, and that got people, going over to my account and seeing the other stuff that I had posted before then. And that was really surprising. because this was something that started just for fun. I didn't think of this being a long time thing. This was still like a backup account, a second account that most people didn't know about. So to get attention from all of these people that, I looked up to and whose content I enjoyed, that made me realize, oh, I can make this a long-term thing. This can be something that I do for however long I want. People really love seeing this, and I love doing it. So
Yeah.
why not turn this into its own meme account? And that was really the origin of the Okayest Computer. It came as a result of that Rage Against the Machine post that suddenly took off for no reason in particular.
Shout out to Rage Against the Machines. Putting in work
absolutely.
since day one.
Yeah, absolutely.
That rocks. Did you say a couple days it took?
Yeah, so I started it on August 19th. I believe it was August 19th of 2019. And it was about a week or 2 weeks into it that I made that post. And it took, I think, 2 days for it to be noticed by Anthony. And that got me to, I think it was like 500 followers in the next couple of days.
Damn.
Yeah, I know. I was shocked by it. I did not think that would happen. But people seemed to really enjoy what I was doing. And so, being able to hit that milestone as quickly as I did. And I don't know if that was the exact number. It might have been lower because I think it took a little bit longer for me to get to 500. But that was the start of it, that kind of exponential growth. It began with that post and the other accounts sharing it.
So in the span of about a month, you went from 0 to like halfway to 1,000 pretty much.
Yeah, I started with I started with 3 followers because it was myself on my main account, that was the main account at the time, my brother, and then a friend of mine. That was it. And right. Then with that post, that got me to 300, and then in a few days 400, and then 500. And as I kept creating these posts, people started to notice it more and more and more. But it definitely began with that Rage Against the Machine post. And I basically owe everything I have now to that post.
Sweet. That rocks. Homegrown, too. Pretty much starting from absolutely nothing. And then, creating this multimedia empire that you sit upon today.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it an empire just yet.
You're chilling at what? How many followers? Almost 40K. That's nothing to wag a stick at.
We're close to 40,000 right now, and right now it's at 39.5 thousand. That's really exciting to me because I've been working really hard at this for almost 2 years now. So to see that I've been able to develop this community of like-minded music lovers, and it's that huge, that is incredible to me. I don't necessarily do it for the numbers. I mean, yes, likes and follows and all of that is greatly appreciated. But I think the big thing that I've taken away from this is that people see what I do, they love it, and they use it to start a discussion. Because part of the reason that I started this in the first place is I had nobody to talk to about the music that I loved. And I thought, why not seek fellow music lovers on the internet? And so to see that it's come this far, and to see that there are so many people like me who love this music like I do, that is incredible. So yeah, while I don't necessarily do it for the followers, I am just amazed and so inspired by how many people there are out there like myself.
That's pretty cool. You just started doing it for fun and then just so happened to fall into success.
Yeah, and we've had a few rough patches of some losing followers, people lose interest, and I've actually started to lose interest at one time or another because it makes me question how long do I really want to continue this. But I think as of now, I feel very confident in how things are going. I think it was the start of the YouTube channel with changing the pace of my content to be more frequent, and also continuing to do things completely originally. I have a strict no reposting policy on my page.
No stealing.
It's something that I've held myself to because I think that originality is very important if you want to stand out with all of these music accounts that are being started. Some of them are even inspired by me, which is crazy because I was in that position at one point. I think that if you really want to get started with all of this and you want to, go as far as you possibly can, originality is very important. If I ever make a post and somebody's like, hey, wait a minute, I did that first, I am immediately, going to credit them and be like, hey, you should go follow this account. Yes, they're smaller, but they came up with this first, and it's a fantastic idea. So I think even if you do, accidentally do something that somebody else did, you should, credit them. It's like, that's why I'm kind of bothered when people repost my content. Not because the things that I make are like super high effort, but because the account as a whole is super high effort. And I think that if, you really want to do something great with your content, you should probably put in that effort as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I was going to ask you, how do you feel, flip side of that, because you're the big meme page, how do you feel when little tinier ones, start picking your shit and start putting it on their own page?
I'm mostly okay with it. I mean, yes, it is a bit, bothersome because they didn't create it, but I mean, it's memes. It doesn't really make that huge of a difference. All I ask is that they tag me in it, and that's really all I need, because it shows that they at least care. I love that they show that they care about that and care about originality. So I don't really mind it, but I think that if somebody does repost somebody else's content, at least make it clear that it is a repost and that somebody else did it first.
Yeah, you hear that, guys? All you aspiring memers out there, if you're taken, you just give a little tag is all.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think you got to be original, and if you're not going to be original, then honor the people that are.
Yeah. It's pretty to the nose on the grindstone type book etiquette, which is nice. Etiquette is something that we're missing a lot nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. I find that nowadays, the music community, specifically the music meme community, has gotten pretty hostile and pretty harsh at times. I'm in quite a lot of group chats. I love being in group chats. I've met some absolutely wonderful people from all around the world in those group chats, but it also seems to host a lot of discourse and aggression that doesn't need to be there. So I am a bit concerned about, the state of music Instagram. I've even seen people doing like meta posts about how nothing anybody posts anymore is funny. I saw one earlier this morning that was like, it started as like, oh, Radiohead fans be like, and then it's just a whole big rant in the bottom text about how stupid the meme is. And so as much as I love meta commentary like that, I think it's a sign that things could be going downhill for the music community, and that's alarming to me. Now, being somebody who's been doing it for quite some time now, it's interesting to, age alongside the community. And I'm saddened by how often people blow things out of proportion. Like, this is just, it's memes. And yes, sometimes the jokes are repetitive. I know that I've fallen into some repetition at times, but that's just how things go. It's people figuring things out creatively, trying to scan what's popular and what's likable. And if that does mean things are repetitive, that's okay. I don't think it's a reason to lash out, to make posts being like, oh, everything is horrible nowadays. And I think that being in group chats that are, very angry and host a ton of arguments about music that are unnecessarily hostile, that's concerning as well. So as much as I love being in the music community, I think that the arguments over originality, as well as debates over music that get taken way too seriously, are concerning to me.
You're very philosophic when it comes to memes. I think the best quote ever is, "It's memes." The Okayest Computer 2021. It's memes.
It is, yeah. And yes, I did say, I love, starting a conversation about good music, but just make it a conversation about good music.
Yeah.
If you're making, meta posts about meme creators, and also I've seen a lot of posts specifically targeting certain meme accounts for not being funny, none of that is necessary. Now, yes, I do admit sometimes my posts are a little derivative. They're not entirely like hours of work put into these posts, but I don't want the music community to become something negative. There are a lot of sides of the internet that have, become very hostile over the past few years, specifically music forums like MU and Rate Your Music. And I think that, like I said, aging alongside the music community has opened my eyes to how unnecessarily mean a lot of it is. I think we just need to chill. It is memes. It's just memes.
We do need to chill. It is memes.
Yeah. And yeah, like if somebody decides that, Kanye Albania or Armenia at this point, when they, made a whole bunch of posts about Drake for some reason, they went on a big Drake posting tangent. People got furious about that. Like, it's funny sometimes, and even when it's not, who cares? And also, like I said, there are a lot of accounts making posts about how people are, like, specific accounts are posting things that aren't funny. That is completely unnecessary. So I think that if it's possible to revert the music community back to being a place of, healthy debate and just stupid fun posting, I think that we need to get back to that as soon as possible.
I didn't expect to get the philosophy of a meme out of this, but I'm digging it. That was cool.
Yeah, because when you do this for a while, you start to notice patterns and big changes that happen over time.
Yeah, that's true. You definitely seem to be nose on the grindstone, definitely a foot soldier out there trying to figure out the meme way that people go about trying to figure out what makes a meme good, what makes certain creators not so good, and positivity and negativity and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the hardest thing about, doing something like this, as easy as it may seem, I think the hardest thing about it is learning to deal with criticism. Because, like, if you take me, 4 years ago, I was a hot mess when it came to anybody criticizing anything I did. I was so strict about doing things right. Everything had to be perfect. I've been described as a perfectionist my entire existence. And I think that if me 4 years ago jumped right into managing this account with 39,000 followers, I would have completely just broken. Because this is a very hostile place. And so part of what's been helpful about the Okayest Computer and starting this account is it's taught me how to handle criticism and how to properly interact with people who have differing opinions. Because being in those group chats, they can be peaceful, they can be not. Making posts and having to brave through the comment section, it helps you to understand what people like to see as a content creator, and also how to positively interact with people who differ from you. So I think that although this can be a negative place at times, and that is, saddening to me, I think that it can be helpful as well, and it's been very productive in, improving me as a person. So there is a bright side to all of this, because as crazy as this community can be, it's taught me a lot as a person about how to properly behave towards others, and how to deal when people behave negatively towards me.
Very opening, especially since it's a meme page. Because
for sure, yeah.
That still rocks though that you're so in depth with you're almost like challenging your own psyche, trying to figure out how you make yourself mentally tick and how to project that onto other people, saying like, yeah, I'm okay with criticism.
Yeah, I've learned a surprising amount about myself in the past 2 years. I'd say that right now I'm at the best that I've been in a while. And I think that a lot of that comes from those first few months being on there, making posts that don't necessarily blow up, dealing with angry DMs or people saying that the music I like is basic and I need to, go outside and whatnot. And I know that a lot of that stuff is joking, but like I said earlier, if you took me 4 years ago and put me in one of these comment sections, that would destroy me.
Yeah, because so I think that it
comes. Yeah, it comes with experience. It comes with working on it, observing what people like to hear, observing what people say to you, and whether or not it's genuine or not. I think that being somebody who oftentimes isn't able to interpret sarcasm or jokes very well, it's taught me a lot about how to accept sarcasm and humor. And so yeah, this has been an educational experience for me in ways that I could not have expected from just making stupid music memes.
All from a meme page. All this
Exactly.
self-exploration and self-discovery from making jokes about Radiohead.
It is shocking. I
That's
did
kinda
not think this.
fascinating,
Yeah, I did not think this would happen at all. But it has really improved myself, and I've met so many wonderful people. Like, I could name probably like 8 or 10 people that I've met in these group chats that I would consider to be friends of mine because I've gotten to know people so well, bonding
rad.
over the music that I love.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's taught me about a lot of new music. It's taught me about how to respond to negativity without embracing negativity yourself. And it's introduced me to wonderful people that I wouldn't meet under other circumstances.
Yeah. That's the nature of the internet, bro. It rocks. I like the internet.
It doesn't always, but when it does, it can make a huge impact on your life.
Yeah, that's true. Especially since you've been doing the Instagram account for about 2 years, I think you said, but a bit newer venture that the Okayest Computer YouTube channel, just uploading only 4 months ago, and you've already got somewhat of a substantial size. What was behind the meme of you trying to figure out, oh, I should make a YouTube channel and start doing this type shit?
I think it came from watching other YouTube channels and being like, I really want to make stuff like this. And it also came from doing some serious posts on the Instagram account. Because there have been times that I've hit kind of a creative lull, and I've been asking my followers, what do you want to see from this account? And they're like, oh, you've got to make some serious posts about, artists you like, how to get into these artists. There are a lot of things that I'm really confused about, and I would love to hear that you talk about them in these posts. And so I've done quite a few of those. I did most of them late last year, until I was like, wait a minute, why not just make this into its own creative venture? I have enough stuff that I want to talk about, and I can't fit it all into 10 slides of an Instagram post. If I really want to make serious content alongside the funny content, I'm probably going to need a YouTube channel. So I think that, figuring things out with the YouTube channel has been very difficult, trying to make things that aren't too derivative and aren't too repetitive from other YouTube channels that have inspired me. I've gotten a lot of criticisms for that, and specifically with some of the last 2 or 3 videos that I've made, I've gotten recent increase in negative comments about my YouTube channel, and once again, this is me having to learn how to respond to negativity. So I take that as, oh, this is a sign that things need to change. I'm not ashamed of the content that I've put on the YouTube channel previously, but, if I want to make people happy and if I want to make myself happy, I'm going to have to find my own specific niche of things that I can post about and talk about that will make people happy but will also make myself happy. Because with the stuff that I've posted in the past couple of months, I love it, I think it's good, but that doesn't really work for the average viewer. So if I really want to make things stand out, I'm going to have to use that negativity and use that to change things for the better. So this has been another learning experience for me. However, it's been a lot faster. I've had to change things pretty rapidly. And I think that the next couple of videos that I have lined up, that I think that they're going to be quite a lot better. I remember I did the Death Grips ranking video. People didn't really respond positively to that. So I was like, you know what? Maybe the album worst to best stuff isn't really going to fly on this channel. I gave it a try. It didn't really work out. That's okay. We're going to have to change directions. So this has been yet another learning experience for me. It's been weird, and I'm still working things out. But I like where things are going with the YouTube channel.
Yeah. The ability to work on the fly and try and poke around and throw stuff at a wall and see what sticks is definitely something that even bigger YouTubers aren't, super okay with. But the fact that you're 4 months into the channel, it's still pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been like 3 months right now.
Yeah, that rocks pretty cock, dude. I was gonna see if I was gonna poke around with the criticism thing, because when I was going through your channels, the videos on the channel, the noise video is something of lore. There's a bit of background behind that with the noise music. I want you to defend yourself. This is an unedited version. Just defend noise music, because I'm just curious about your unfiltered ideas, because I know that there were some people in the comments that were being a little goofy, maybe have
Yeah.
some interesting questions about it, but speak.
Yeah, that's definitely been one of my more controversial videos, or polarizing, I guess is the better word, because some people responded very positively to the points that I made, and some people very much didn't. So, when it comes to noise music, I think I'm just as confused about it as all of you are. There are still a lot of things that I'm trying to understand about it, but from what I know, from the noise that I have examined throughout the past year, I think it's been about a year since I really dove into the genre. I think what I find so fascinating about it is, and yet this is a point that I brought up in the Merzbow video. I think what I find so fascinating about it is it does things that literally no other genre of music possibly can. One thing that I love about the medium of music, and especially in contemporary music, is people finding new ways to innovate, even like using past genres of music, blending them together and doing something that nobody's ever heard before. But with noise music, that's taken to a total extreme because you're doing things that shouldn't even humanly be possible. And when it comes to, genre blending, creating new genres, that's cool, that's great, but that gets done all the time. It takes something really unique to come up with noise music, because even though it seems low effort, it seems like there's not much that goes into it. Coming from somebody who has tried and potentially failed to create it, it is a lot harder than it seems. It takes a lot of skill to come up with something that is, simultaneously abrasive and riveting at the same time. So, yes, the music itself is pretty insane. You can listen to something like Merzbow's Venereology or Steve Rodin's Forms of Paper, and you might not like what you hear at first, but I think that the appreciation of noise music comes from hearing sounds that you would never hear anywhere else, and also, as a musician, an admiration of these people's abilities to create those sounds.
Do you think it's something to do with the fact that it's so long and just so no breaks or anything, just constant noise, where I'm speaking from my personal point of position, I feel people who incorporate noise into their music is much more interesting to me, clipping, one that I can name off the top of the head, but I think the issue that a lot of people have is if it's just the noise, that's where it becomes difficult, where it's only the for like 35 minutes.
Yeah, I can see why that would definitely be an issue for some people, and I don't casually listen to noise very often. If I was to listen to a noise work, be it something by, Merzbow, or even some like power violence stuff, like in the metal territory, if it's something like really loud and really abrasive, I'll probably just put it on in the background. But I think that when it comes to music that is just straight up noise with no breaks, I think that it triggers a very visceral reaction in the listener. And I love that visceral reaction. The disgust, the confusion, the just wondering, what the hell are these people doing? I find that so amazing. Because as I said in, the previous statement I made, these aren't things that you would hear anywhere else. I really love music that makes me feel things very strongly. I really love music that's, super happy. Like, I'll listen to some pop music. I'll listen to some Kira Kira Bonito. I really, really love really sad music. But music that triggers confusion is rare. I think that, a classic example of music that triggers confusion is Captain Beefheart's Trout Mask Replica. People are still trying to absorb what exactly that was after 50 years.
Shout out Captain Beefheart.
Exactly, yeah. And I consider it to be one of my favorite albums. And I also consider, like, Merzbow's Venereology to be one of my favorite albums. But Venereology is one of those examples that is, like, non-stop noise. So what do I find so interesting about it? I think that a big part of what makes art is the emotion behind it and the emotion that it causes in the consumer. And with Venereology, or with any noise album, especially ones that are just non-stop noise, it makes me feel things very, very strongly, and I love that. I think that some of the worst music that I've heard is stuff that makes me feel nothing. Things that are boring and plain and monotonous, and I leave it and I completely forget what I just heard because it left no impact on me whatsoever. But when I listen to one of these albums that's non-stop noise, that makes me feel a lot of things. That makes me feel every possible emotion in the span of 30 or 50 minutes. And as somebody who creates art or tries to create art, I love that so much because I want to be able to make people feel things with what I create. And so I look up to that very, very much. I think that it takes something really special to give somebody an emotional reaction to art. That is the sign of true talent to me. No matter what it is that you create, if you make people feel things and they keep that feeling long after they've listened to it, that is a sign that you've succeeded.
This isn't even necessarily a noise question, but do you think it's possible that someone push past the envelope? People always talk about pushing the envelope. Have you personally ever seen anyone push too far past the envelope?
John Cage. I love the work of avant-garde composer John Cage. I think that he's a fascinating person. But I think that there was one work that he created that did push things really, really far, and that was 433. That's now one of the most famous avant-garde compositions ever. But it did push things really, really far by doing literally nothing. Nothing at all. The entire piece, if you look up sheet music for it, it instructs you to do nothing for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. And he put that out there, and he had people perform it and call it art. That is insane. I think that when we think about things that, push art too far, it's hard to tell. I think that, when it comes to people like Hanatarash, who literally put lives in danger for the sake of art, that's another example of pushing things really, really far. But at least with something like Hanatarash, there is music sort of behind it. But with John Cage's 433, it forces the listener to wonder what makes art art. Could you put out literally nothing and call it music? And while I don't think that that's pushing it too far, because that is a question that, should be asked and should be answered, I think that that is a lot for the average consumer to absorb. For somebody who's looking for music, and for you to give them nothing and say, this is music, that's pretty far for me.
For the people who don't know about the John Cage thing, I didn't know about this. I'm looking at the sheet music right now. It's just a blank sheet music. So do research on this. This is actually fascinating.
Yeah, it's nothing. It tells you to sit in silence for the entire runtime. For exactly 4 minutes and 33 seconds, you do nothing.
Yeah, I think that's a good example of pushing the envelope.
Yeah. And that's been really controversial for a lot of people ever since it was first introduced. Nobody knows what to think of it, because we still haven't answered the question, can you make nothing and call it art? And I'm still working on what I think of it. When I listen to something like, say, Clipping's Piano Burning or Yoko Ono's Secret Piece, those are, artistic expressions, whatever they may be. You are doing something. But for you to do nothing, nobody has figured out how to respond to that. So I think that does push things pretty far.
I never would have thought we would have gotten this deep on literally what makes art from this goofy little podcast, but it's fascinating.
Precisely, yeah.
That type of stuff just always makes me feel like, wow.
And to tie it back to the YouTube channel, these are the types of things I love to discuss. I think that, asking these important questions and trying to answer them is a lot of what I want to do with my YouTube channel from now on. I think that as polarizing as the Merzbow video was, that's the kind of thing I really want to make. I love doing that. And bringing up these, tough questions and trying to figure out how to answer them, that's what I find really exciting about being a content creator.
Since we're on the topic of the YouTube channel, I was curious. I like asking creators this because most of the time they've never really had this opportunity to really talk about it. But what's a comment that you've gotten and for some reason it just lives in your head rent free?
Oh my god, I can tell you the exact comment. It was a comment on my Death Grips ranking video, and it absolutely broke me. I don't get a lot of negative comments. I do get some, but they are, few and far between. There are just like a couple on each video. But there was one that I got on my Death Grips ranking video that just destroyed me. And it was one that was, it seemed constructive. It seemed like they were, trying to help in what they were saying, and they did. But it hit me in a way that no other comment ever has on any social media platform. I'm going to see if I can find it, and I can tell you, like, some of the things that they said.
Yeah, it's always the one comment, like everyone, if I ask that question, they always have the one comment. When I ask that, they're like, oh yeah, there's that one comment.
Yeah, it's one that was talking about how I use my influences too prominently, and my content is, very derivative. And this is a quote that specifically got to me. It said, "Find a new format or try to do something different than what your influences do. It's totally fine to be influenced by others and be open about that, but there's only so far that taking that influence can go." And yes, this comment was, very well intentioned, but after reading that, I probably sat in silence for a solid 10 minutes and really debated, is this worth continuing? Like, is it worth doing this? Do I have what it takes to make a YouTube channel, or am I just going to be stuck as the guy who does the music memes on Instagram? Do I really have the creative abilities and the personality to continue doing something like this? It basically caused me to just question everything I've been doing for the past year and a half. And that was the sign that things needed to change for the channel. The sign that I've got to do something different here. Because if people are going to be saying things like that, and they're going to be right, that is terrifying. I wasn't even mad about, receiving a negative comment, because I have received plenty of those in my time. But the fact that the negative comment was completely correct scared me so much.
Yeah, those are the scary ones.
Everything that they said made so much sense, and it forced me to look back at every single video I've made and be like, wow, all of these are the exact same. This isn't going to be enough to entertain people. That was horrifying for me, because it made me question if I had what it takes to make a YouTube channel. So after that, I haven't made many videos since I received that comment. It was very recent. All I've put out is 2 record collection videos since then. But ever since I did receive that comment, I've had to completely go back and rewrite a ton of video scripts. I've changed the way that I shoot and edit my videos. I've changed what videos I'm going to create. I have all of my planned videos written out for until September. So I probably took off 5 or 6 videos because it made me think, oh, people are going to hate these.
This one really hit to the core.
Exactly. So yeah, it really hit to the core. It hurt, but it also motivated me to work a lot harder, because I felt like I had gotten lazy. There were a few videos that I had made, specifically the Fishman's video, the Young Lean video, the Swans album breakdown, that I was really, really proud of. But then I make something like that, and it makes me realize, oh, I've still got a lot of things I need to work on. So as much as that comment hurt, it did motivate me to work a lot harder on the content that I create, to not only make people happy, but to also make myself feel fulfilled by what I'm working on.
People can say what they will about, someone making stuff like that, but the fact that you notice that sometimes comments are right like that, and you're making an effort to change the content for the better, that's commendable. It's the nature of the machine, and you're beating the machine.
Yeah, I want to work as hard as I possibly can to give people, good content that they deserve. Because I try to make content that I would look at and be like, oh, I would watch this. Oftentimes when I create a video, I watch it back and I look at it completely distant from anything that I've done. And I'm just like, if I am a casual YouTube viewer, would I watch this and enjoy it? And if the answer,
exactly what I do.
Yeah,
exactly
and if the
what
answer,
I do.
And if the answer is no, then that means I've got to change it. Because if I don't like it, nobody else is going to like it. There might be a few people that are like, oh, this is quality content. But if a majority of people are going to be saying stuff like that, that's not something that's worth putting out there. So I've had to go back with every video that I've made or thought of making, and that I plan on making up to, like the end of the year, when I plan on, doing those year-end lists. Everything that I have planned for the rest of this year, I had to go back through all of these video ideas, through these half-written scripts, and be like, is this actually worth putting on the internet? So it has motivated me to work a lot harder and analyze things a lot closer, and not only as the creator of the content, but as a common viewer.
I will say, with the whole, creating content for YouTube thing, you definitely have somewhere that you want to go with this. Let's say, perfect situation, everything works out perfect. Let's keep it to the YouTube channel. Where's the YouTube channel in a year from now?
In a year from now, I think it's going to be more stuff with, working on the series. I have a couple of series that I've established that I'm really happy with, and I plan on developing those further. I think that, the album breakdown, talking about these, lengthy and mythical pieces of music and trying to condense them into a short, video essay / album review. I think that is something that I love doing. Like I said, I love that Swans video. That's probably the video that I'm most proud of. And so I definitely plan on continuing to do more of those. I think the evolution videos are going to be good. And also just thinking of miscellaneous topics that I want to talk about in shorter videos. I think I definitely want to start making shorter videos. Because, take a look at the evolution of Weezer video. That's another one of my favorite videos I've made. But that's also 43 minutes. People aren't always going to want to watch that. So I think that in the next year or so, I'm going to work on creating shorter videos, but with the same, quality and, creativity. So I think I'm going to start working on shorter videos to make it easier on myself and easier on the viewer. I'm going to continue developing those series that I like and that people seem to respond very positively to. And I'm just going to make videos that seem like fun, talking about these, hot topics in music, such as the noise debate. So I see shorter videos, continuing the series, and making videos that totally aren't in those series that I just feel like making for fun.
A man with a plan. That's what I like to hear. That shit rocks.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
One thing I want to talk about before we get into the viewer question portion of the topics. Talk to me about the music that you create. You've made memes about music, you've made videos talking about music, and you've made your own. Discuss.
So, yeah, the thing with making my own music is that hasn't really gone well so far. I will be the first to admit. I've only put out 2 songs to date, and people seem to like one and really hate the other. So that was confusing. I put out like a 2-song ambient EP, and that was met with pretty universally negative reviews. It's currently one of the lowest rated albums of the year on Rate Your Music, and I plan that. No, it is.
Oh,
no, it is.
Wow.
It's in the bottom 100, and it has been ever since it was first released.
And this is in Light and Dark. In Light.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been received very, very negatively. And I will say, nothing that I plan on making from now on will sound anything like that. And I'm probably not going to expand on that any further, but hopefully that's a sign that people might actually care about it if it sounds nothing like the stuff I've put out previously.
And are you going to remain under the Hell's name?
I do plan on remaining with that name. It seems nice to me. It's simple. It gets the point across. And I also plan on tying that name into, the concept of my music. With the projects that I plan on creating throughout my life, whatever those may be, or whenever those may be, the name will make sense. If you have no idea what it means, the name will make sense, and you will understand why I chose it. And I think that whatever I do put out, my next project, which I am working on right now, it will also help for you to understand why I put out the ambient EP, because the two are very different, but in some subliminal ways they are connected. So when I do put out this first full-length album, which, like I said, I am currently recording, it will hopefully help give some context to why I put out this EP that a lot of people hate. So everything will make sense eventually.
can you drop any breadcrumbs on when that could possibly be released?
Well, it's gonna be a 7-song project, and it's gonna be a lot shorter, of course. People did not really like the length of what I put out already, so it's gonna be a lot shorter. It's gonna be a 7-song project. I currently only have 2 songs done, and I wanted to shoot for having it done by the end of the year, but I'm still going back and tweaking and revising a lot of the ideas that I have. A lot of things I don't even have recorded. I've recorded a ton of demos, but I don't know if any of those will actually end up on the final project.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna shoot for having at least a single done by the end of the year.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to have the whole album done by the end of the year, but I at least want to release one more single before the end of this year.
Now, if I may put my prediction hat on, I know that you're a man of many musical instruments, so can I presume that we will have some possible pianos, maybe a guitar on the future album?
Oh yeah, no, it's gonna be slightly more average music, not average in quality, but average in sound and composition. It's gonna have like drums and vocals. It's gonna be basically a full band. Everything's so it's gonna be music that is absorbable and is listenable in a casual setting. So I do. Yeah, I plan on creating something that, does make sense, and it does have like a grand overarching, story and concept, but it is still accessible to a listener. Because like I said, it is going to be a lot shorter. It is going to have normal instruments. It's not going to contain any harsh noise or 30-minute piano compositions.
Come on, a little bit of harsh noise, just a little bit.
I mean, it is going to be noisy, but it's definitely not going to be noise music.
Okay, all right. Interesting.
Because I originally planned on. Actually, I've never actually told anybody this. In the beginning phases of creating this album, I originally wanted to create an album that was entirely recorded with one bass guitar, and I got quite a few. It was just going to be bass and vocals for the entire album, and I got like 4 different tracks done, or sort of done, with just the bass and the vocals, and then I listened back to it, and I'm like, oh, this isn't very good at all. I can't turn this into a full album. So, I mean, yes, that was a pretty ambitious idea to create a whole album with one instrument, and it was one that wasn't like an acoustic guitar or piano. It was a bass guitar.
Yeah.
So yeah, that ultimately didn't end up working out, and I definitely don't plan on publishing any of those. However, I did put out like a bonus EP after I put out In Light and Dark, and that did feature one of those songs that would have probably ended up on the project.
Is that Bandcamp?
Yeah. Everything's on
Bandcamp.
Bandcamp.
Hell's Bandcamp.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Bandcamp rocks.
So it's been a lot of trial and error trying to figure out what I want this to sound like, and I've got this idea for, okay, I really want to record this. I want it to sound like this. I want it to be with a full band and a variety of instruments, and I want it to be short and accessible to a common listener. So I do think that I found a niche and a sound that I can turn into a full-length project. And no, it's not going to be just a bass guitar. It's not going to be 30 minutes of piano. It's going to be normal music, which I think is going to be a change for the better.
That'd be an interesting change, but, now that you mentioned that bass guitar idea, you should trademark that or something, because I smell some avant-garde musician is definitely going to take that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I could possibly do, like, say, an interlude song on a future project that was performed on bass. I do have ideas for original compositions to be played on a bass guitar, but I don't think a full album with just a bass would be entertaining at all.
That'd be fascinating, though, to see someone do that.
Yeah. And who knows, maybe I will, in a couple of years or so, revisit some of these old demos that I have rotting away on a hard drive and be like, oh, maybe I could turn this into a song or two. But for now, no, I don't think the bass guitar idea is going to go anywhere. And I do intend on this... Yes, and I do intend on this first album that I am currently working on to be average.
Average.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So guys, check out for the Hells album dropping soon. Well, not soon, but
yeah.
in the possibly distant future.
I'm working on it. I really am. I've got a ton of demos recorded, but nothing that is ready to release. I've still got a lot of work to do.
And you're putting work in, too. You're not just, like, kind of half-assing it, which is respectable.
No, because I feel like I did really half-ass the first EP. I mean, it was recorded over 4 months, which is a pretty minuscule recording time for a normal project. So it was recorded over the course of 4 months, and I feel like I really didn't devote enough of that time to mixing. A majority of the criticisms, like if we look back at, the few reviews and comments about the album that there are, tons of criticism of the mixing. And listening back to it now, I realize, oh yeah, no, this mixing sounds horrible. So I think that I do want to put in as much time as necessary for the next project so that it doesn't end up sounding rushed or, in your words, half-assed.
No problem with taking your time, absolutely.
Yeah. So realistically, I don't know if it'll be ready at the end of the year. I'll probably have
rough estimates.
I'll probably have all the songs recorded by then. But then comes the process of mixing it and making it sound a lot better than my previous work.
Yeah, grab a meme channel to come on the podcast, get into all this in-depth lore about the human psyche, the way we deal with criticism, and, the artistic spirit. You never know what you're going to get when you record this.
Yeah, I'm just as surprised as you are. I didn't think that, creating this account would take me in this direction, but here we are.
That is pretty cool, though. So, shout out to the account, shout out to Hells, shout out to everything, doing your best. That rocks.
Thank you so very much.
I got you. Speaking of people who rock, this is unprecedented on the podcast, I just like to say. Usually, when I ask for viewer questions, it's from my personal account, but you seem to have taken the reins on this one, taken the bull by the horns, and asked the viewer questions on your account. So I got a nice little handful of questions here that the people are dying to know. They're dying to know. Are you going to give them those answers?
And I'm here to answer.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I fucking like to hear.
Yeah, let's do it.
Twin Fantasies Leaving Town asks, when's the new album releasing? I already kind of mentioned that, but to recap, soon.
Yeah, hopefully next year. Hopefully next year.
So, it is still coming, gentlemen and ladies. Keep your hats on. So, Owen Lucas wants to know, if you had to remove one studio album from your favorite artist discography, what would it be?
Now, I will admit that I did, briefly take a glance at some of these questions before we recorded this, since they did come from my account. But so this one really caught my eye, and I knew that I really wanted to answer this question going into
Shout out Owen, bro.
Because, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great question, by the way. So, now, trying to figure out, first of all, what artist to talk about, because the obvious answer could be Radiohead, but I think we can do a little bit better than that, because the average person would probably say Pablo Honey. So, I'm going to talk about Björk. Now, Björk, Björk, my absolute favorite singer. She is magnificent. And I know that she has had a pretty weird history of making some controversial creative decisions. And personally, I don't support those very strange things that she's done and said in the name of art. But looking solely at her music is brilliant. It has absolutely changed the way I've listened to music. So if we were to think of an album by Björk to strike from her discography, I would probably say I'd probably say Volta. Now that's difficult to choose because I do like Volta, but it is it's the common choice for the least favorite Björk album.
Yeah, Björk. Yeah,
the one that holds up the worst over time. And that's not to say that I dislike the album. I absolutely don't dislike the album. It features some magnificent songs, and Innocence in particular, one of my favorite Björk songs ever recorded. But I think if I was to take an album out of her discography that didn't necessarily make a huge impact on music or on me as a person, I would probably say Volta. Now, would that be... I will say this, though. The contributions from the features, be it Anthony or Brian Chippendale, I love those. So that is one thing that I love about the album, the way that it explored a lot of collaborations for Björk. She doesn't have many features on her songs. She has, added some of them over time, with contributions from Arca and Brian Chippendale, Tom York, all kinds of people. But I think that, if there was one thing that I do love about Volta, it's those features. So even though I would strike it from the discography, you should absolutely check out any song from the Volta era that includes contributions from another artist.
Yeah, that's the hard question. You gotta figure out which one you don't like. I'm gonna be honest, I was getting scared. I thought you were gonna say Biophilia for a second.
Oh, absolutely not. And even if Biophilia, I don't think it's one of her better projects, the way that it explores music as so much bigger than just sound, as it was an app, an art exhibit, a website.
Yeah.
It was so many things. So even if the music itself isn't on the same level as something like Volnicura or Vespertine, it was really important for expanding music beyond just the songs itself. So no, I would not exclude Biophilia, because it also features some fantastic songs of hers, especially Crystalline, Cosmogony, and bonus track. And the bonus track, Natura, one of my favorite Björk songs.
As a bit of a Björk, self-proclaimed Björk novice, I've only really listened to Biophilia. It's the only one I really jumped into really far, and I'm just like, what are the odds? He says that this is the one that he likes the least. What are the odds?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. If you are new to Björk, I do suggest you check out Post. Post is definitely one of her better projects.
The classic,
yeah. Yeah, it's also got some of her, biggest hits, especially Army of Me and Hyper Ballad. So if you are new to Björk, if you're looking to get into her work and understand why somebody like myself is so obsessed with her albums, definitely start with Post.
All right. Post has been added to the list. Thanks, Owen, for the introspective question.
Yeah, great question.
Apologies if I pronounce this name wrong. Trans Girl D. Bogan wants to know, favorite band to make memes on? Who do you like making memes about?
Ooh, I mean, there are a lot of them. I mean, I have almost 700 posts, so I have made stuff about quite a lot of artists. And I'm not going to look at this from a popularity standpoint, because the stuff that's the most popular is like the stuff about, Weezer and Car Seat Headrest. I think the stuff that I enjoy making the memes about the most is Phoebe Bridgers.
That's an interesting one, yeah.
I adore Phoebe Bridgers as an artist. I said in my big end of the year post that Punisher was my favorite album of 2020, and it still is. I love it so much. And I think that making memes about Punisher, about this album that I admire so much, that is a lot of fun, because that album cover is surprisingly memeable. It's able to be manipulated and tweaked into all kinds of things. I've seen people turn it into Kid A by Radiohead.
That cover rocks, though.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, Punisher's a good
and so
cover.
Looking back at the posts that I'm the most proud of, the ones that I think are the most, original and creative, that I loved creating the most and that I'm most happy with, they're all related to Phoebe Bridgers. The one that I particularly look back on the fondest, which I would probably say is my favorite post I've ever made, is the one that it's the Phoebe Bridgers, it's Punisher's album cover, but Phoebe was removed and replaced with the "Are You Winning, Son" meme.
That rocks.
It's such a stupid thing, but for some reason I found it really funny, and a lot of people found it really funny. And I also changed the caption to "Are You Taller, Son" to connect it to Garden Song from the album. So I think that was a moment that I was really happy with, and to also see that it's one of my most popular posts to date, that made me really happy. So I'd say the artist that I definitely love memeing the most is Phoebe Bridgers, because that is the album cover and the album that sparks the most inspiration for me to create content.
All right. So this is from In the Running of being my favorite name that I've read so far. Oven Bruv says, not a question, but you should talk about the music gear you have, like instruments and vinyls. You kind of talk about the vinyls you have in your videos, and I know you have a series going alphabetical order, so you don't really have to get in the vinyls, but I guess musical instruments is someone that we could talk about, because I'm curious what you're packing.
Yeah. First thing I will say is Oven Bruv, wonderful person. I'm in multiple group chats with him, and he's a fantastic person.
That name rocks.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when it comes to musical gear, basically the stuff that I've recorded my music with, recorded my videos with. So when it comes to musical gear, my guitar is an Epiphone Les Paul. My bass is a Fender Jazz bass from I don't know when. The interesting thing about the Fender Jazz bass is I got it off an old piano teacher of mine for $50.
Hey.
And it's lasted me 5 years.
Shout out.
It's required, continuous like cleaning and refurbishing and, new setups and stuff. But that bass has lasted me an absurdly long time for, how old it is. And and everything that I've recorded for my upcoming music with the bass has been recorded with that old Fender Jazz that I love so much. And and my amplifier is, it's the classic, it's the Boss Katana 50. It's very affordable, it's very convenient, but it also sounds fantastic. It really gets the job done.
Yeah.
The audio interface, another one that's affordable but very, very effective, the Focusrite 2i2.
Okay, sure.
You gotta love the Focusrite. And my microphone is an AKG P120. That's how I do the audio for my YouTube videos. I actually intentionally put it very far away from where I'm recording to kind of capture, a more natural sound. If I put it up really, really close to me, it sounds slightly better, but it also sounds really loud and blown out, and it's not necessary at all. So I do intentionally put it farther away from me. I'll probably end up getting a new mic once I start, doing things on a bigger budget. If I do ever end up monetizing my content, I'll probably use a lot of that money to get new recording gear. But for right now, the AKG P120 has been doing great for recording audio in both music and YouTube videos. And
Sweet.
when it comes to music, when it comes to music listening gear, my turntable is an Audio-Technica LP120X USB. And the speakers are Edifier R1280T speakers.
Shit. I think we have the same record player. I don't want to put too much on it, but I think we have the same one.
Well, that's wonderful. Yeah, I love Audio-Technica. I'd say that's the best bang for your buck. It may not be like super pristine, super high quality, but if you're looking for some really nice sound for your vinyl, or for headphones or speakers, absolutely go for Audio-Technica. If you're looking for something that is affordable but really high quality, absolutely Audio-Technica.
Oh yeah, compared to my old fucking record player I had, it was plastic, just shit. The one I have now, it's a tank now. Oh my god. Yeah, it's like heavy.
Yeah, I had one of those. I had one of those Crosley suitcases.
Oh yeah, everyone has to. Everyone.
I'm not proud of that, but yeah, my first ever trip to a record store. I got a used Crosley suitcase that was Peanuts themed. Like it was yellow and it had the Charlie Brown stripe on it. I still have it in my closet.
Oh, that rocks.
And
that just actually rocks.
I loved it, of course, because it was cute, it was portable. I liked it, but it sounded horrible. Also, because I didn't have external speakers at the time, so the sound was coming directly out of the turntable.
Yeah,
it sounded horrible.
Yeah,
I hated it so much. And I had that for a solid 2 years before I upgraded to something else. And even then, that wasn't the greatest, because I upgraded to a Victrola turntable. But that was one of those 9-in-1 nostalgic turntables.
Oh, yeah.
It was, and it's good. I mean, it definitely does everything I need to do. But once again, didn't really sound great. So it wasn't until this past holiday season that I actually got enough money to buy an Audio-Technica with some proper speakers. So it was something that I was waiting on for a very long time, and it was well worth the wait.
Long time coming.
Yeah. So great question about the gear. It's really interesting to talk about that, and I hope that some of you that may not know what gear to get might be able to use some of that to your advantage.
Yeah. Shout out Oven Bruv. Good question, my man. Good question. So, Fresh Cup of Random wants to know, who do you think is in the running for post-rock album of the year?
Ooh, that's a tough one, because there have been a lot of some great post-punk or just straight punk records released so far. I mean, you all know how much I love Black Midi's Cavalcade. I have a video coming out about that. As of the date we're recording this, it'll be tomorrow. It'll be Tuesday the 8th.
That'll be out now. Go watch that, bro.
Yeah. So you all should go check that out, because that'll be out by now. So I love Black Midi's Cavalcade. Of course, Black Country New Road and Squid and Shame. A lot of stuff to choose from. But I still find myself coming back to Black Country New Road for the first time.
Yeah.
I know there are a lot of people saying that that's like super overrated, that there's a lot of stuff that's better, that they're, too derivative of like Slint and stuff, but I don't know, man. I just really, really love that album. I can't really find many flaws in it, if any at all. Sunglasses is absolutely brilliant. I love that album so much. When it comes to debut albums, there aren't really many that, have that much of, like, they pack that much of a punch right out the gate. They really did something special with that album. I love it. So I currently say the front runner is For the First Time by Black Country New Road.
Shout out Jackson Burns. He loves that record. I also think that record's pretty good too. But it's harder for me to get into the post-punk kind of genre. But I'm dipping my big toe in there. Slowly but surely.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, but I think if you're looking to get into post-punk, you've got to explore the classics. Stuff from the 70s and 80s. Yeah, absolutely. Especially like Joy Division and The Cure.
Oh yeah. Those are like that. Do you want to talk about a memed on album? The fucking Joy Division. I don't even think there's another.
Yeah, Unknown Pleasures.
Yeah, literally one of the most memed albums of all time. But
yeah, that was basically the start of the whole name 3 songs thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, if you're looking to get into post-punk, you're not very familiar with it, definitely start with Joy Division's Unknown Pleasures. But when it comes to modern post-punk, definitely my current favorite that I've heard is going to be Black Country New Roads For the First Time.
Sweet. Shout out Georgia Ellery. All right, so James.avi wants to know, are you a fan of King Gizzard? If so, what's your favorite album?
Yes, I am a huge King Gizzard fan. I absolutely love them. I first heard them. Yeah, I first heard them back when they released Nonagon Infinity, shortly after that was released. And I have just been in love with their work ever since. Even when they put out albums that I don't personally think are very enjoyable, I love and admire what they do so much. Even though they do, they put out music way too often. Like, guys, take a break. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But, I mean, a lot of what I've heard from them has been very, very good. Stuff like Infest the Rat's Nest and Flying Microtota Banana I would consider to be personal favorite albums of mine. And their 2 most recent records, KG and LW, I thought they were fine. I do think that they should have done something different instead of just continuing the microtonal trend from Flying Microtota Banana.
Yeah.
So that was a case of them reusing an old idea, and for a band that is so consistently original and creative, that was a bit disappointing. But I still thought it was some quality music, especially LW, the song One, and also the closer. I thought were fantastic. I actually originally planned on seeing them live later this year, because, now concerts are coming back. And so I was so excited for a chance to finally see them live and see how they work their magic. But it actually ended up getting postponed to next year. So it's not going to be until November of next year. And by that time, I'll also be off to college. So now I'm actually unable to see them.
Ow.
That sucks.
You just don't want to hear that, man. Yeah, it does suck.
Yeah. To answer your question, yes, I'm a huge King Giz fan. I love their work. I think they're really, really great. Definitely one of the most prolific and creative bands functioning right now.
Sweet. Thank you for the question, James. All right. Midwest Pen Pals Enjoyer wants to know, what's your favorite video game soundtrack, man?
There are so many to choose from. I actually intended on making a video sometime in the coming months, 5 essential video game soundtracks. So this may spoil some of those choices, but I absolutely love The Last of Us soundtrack, Red Dead Redemption 2. You can't talk about good soundtracks without talking about Minecraft.
Also, my God.
Also Earthbound, some of the Donkey Kong games have great soundtracks. I'd say one of my personal favorites, though, is No Man's Sky. Are you familiar with that game?
Oh, yeah. And I didn't even know they had, like, a original soundtrack for that. Oh, shit.
Yeah, the soundtrack was done by 65 Days of Static, which is, electronic artists that I love. And that soundtrack is awesome.
And I think that listen to that.
Yeah, and last one that I wanted to bring up is one that people often forget about. So the mobile game Monument Valley?
Yeah.
Yeah, that has an original soundtrack. I didn't actually know that until like a couple of months ago, years after the original game was released. I played it after it was first released, and I loved it. I consider it to be probably the best mobile game that I've ever played. So when I found out that, you could listen to that soundtrack separately, I just jumped on that immediately, and I listened to it, and it was gorgeous.
I didn't even know that this was original either. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, it is
That's
beautiful
crazy.
soundtrack for a beautiful game. It's one of the few mobile games that I've actually felt like really satisfied with. Like, I get done playing it and I'm like, wow, that was beautiful. You don't get that with a lot of mobile games.
Yeah, no.
And I think that the soundtrack helped that a lot. And so that's definitely something that I plan on adding to the record collection at some point, because that actually did get printed on vinyl. So I would love,
okay, that rocks.
I would love to have a copy of the Monument Valley soundtrack, because I love that game and I love that soundtrack.
Okay, there, boom. Ask for one, you got 5. That's 5 times the amount of product that you asked for, man. That is pretty cool.
Yup.
Shout out to Midwest Pen Pals.
Yeah, great account, by the way.
All right, this is another in the running for best name. Head Was Clean wants to know.
Ha!
Top 5
I love Head Was
Blade
Clean.
songs.
I love Head Was Clean. I love everything they're doing.
That's a good ass
top
name.
5 Blade songs. So I do actually have a list of that. One thing that you'll know about me, like if you meet me in real life, I keep organized lists of everything.
Huh.
I have the Notes app on my phone is just filled to the brim with unnecessarily huge documents full of lists.
Nice.
I have my 50 favorite movies, my 50 favorite songs, EPs, artists, and albums. I have one devoted to ranking albums by artists. I have one that's ranking every single Radiohead song, which I will turn into a video once I get a certain amount of... Which I will turn into a subscriber special. Once I get a certain amount of subscribers, I will make a video where I rank every single song Radiohead has ever made. I have that sitting on my phone right now. But the biggest one that I have is top 10 songs by artist. So I actually have, I know this is like so stupid, but I mean, I've been developing this list of lists for years now, and I do have Blade among the bunch. So my top five Blade songs. I have like so many artists in here, and Blade is there. So top 5 Blade songs. Number 5, of course, "Be Nice to Me" from Ice Dancer. I had to put it on there somewhere. That's, it's the big hit. It's a wonderful song. Number 4 would be "Unreal" from Glue. I know that a lot of people would put that at number 1, but there are still a few that I prefer. Number 3, "Swan Lake" from 333. And number 2, "Delete," the intro from Glue. And my personal favorite Blade song is "Who Goes There." Who Goes There from Eversense.
I'm not a huge Blade guy, but I like hearing people talk about Blade.
Yeah, I think if you're looking to get into Blade, you're probably just going to want to listen to some of the big songs like "Be Nice to Me," and if you're looking for a good full album to start with, I'd probably say Eversense or 333.
Okay. Yeah, I got some cool listening material. I'm actually writing these down, if you could believe that.
Blade is really, really cool. It definitely took some time for Blade to grow on me, because when I first heard... I think that "Be Nice to Me" was the first song of his that I ever heard. So I was like, what is the appeal of this? I was so confused by it. And it took hearing 333, because I heard him first shortly before that album came out. So after that album came out, I listened to that, and I was like, wait a minute, this guy's really got something. So then I listened back to his whole discography, including, Ice Dancer and "Be Nice to Me," which was the first thing I heard of his. And I was like, I think I get it now. So it definitely took some time. It took a few listens to each of his albums. And there are still some of his that I don't particularly enjoy, specifically AVP, "Working on Dying," and "Red Light." But, I still really like his work. It took some time, but I do enjoy his work. And I think that once you do listen back to a few of his albums, you might feel the same.
Shout out to Blade. Shout out to that.
Yeah,
man.
absolutely.
And shout out to "Head Was Clean."
Yeah.
Second best.
Yeah.
Second best name so far. That shit rocks. All right, we're winding down on the viewer questions. Only a few more. In the Deep Time wants to know, what is a genre that you feel is under and one that you think is overappreciated?
That's a tough one. Another great account that I like in the Deep Time. Very, very good stuff. So overappreciated is a lot harder to answer. I think that a lot of genres that get praise nowadays are ones that deserve the praise. But when I think about a genre that gets, far too much credit and doesn't really deserve the popularity that it got, I'm gonna go with a super basic and super stupid answer and say like glam metal. Glam metal and hair metal from the 80s. I think that a lot of the love of that genre is purely nostalgia. Because if we listen back to a lot of those albums, be it like Poison or Scorpions or Guns N' Roses, it really hasn't aged well. There are definitely a few gems among the bunch, especially like early Van Halen, even some Def Leppard albums that I still find to be pretty nice. But a lot of stuff to come from that era of popular rock and metal music really did not age well. And I think that the only reason that a lot of people still enjoy that is purely out of nostalgia for living through that era.
Here, I got a hot take for you that I've been sitting on. This might be controversial, but I think the phrase experimental hip hop has been beaten to death. Like,
yes,
that has been so abused and used.
Oh my God,
it almost doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah. It's gotten to the point like where we hear actual experimental hip hop, stuff like Clipping or some really far out cloud rap stuff that I would describe as experimental, like Clouded. It loses all of its meaning. We use it so often, and oftentimes there are artists that are deserving of that label, but I feel like we use it far too often. And it's gotten so frequent that artists that actually are experimental hip hop often go unnoticed.
Yeah.
And like, as much as I love, you all who follow me and have followed me for a while know that I'm a massive MF Doom fan. The guy is by far my favorite rapper. I don't think he's experimental hip hop. People are calling Mad Villainy. People call Mad Villainy experimental hip hop. Is that like one of the best albums I've ever heard? Yeah, absolutely. But is it experimental hip hop? No, not at all. So yeah, I do fully agree with that. So while I do not think that experimental hip-hop is an overappreciated genre, I do think that we slap that label on far too many projects.
Yeah, the overarching umbrella that encompasses all that stuff, sometimes it gets a little too boggy and too like messy for anyone to really understand if this is or this isn't. But yeah, good question, my man. Good freaking
Oh yeah, very
question.
much.
All right, winding down, two more.
Okay.
In Rainstorm wants to know, what sparks a more profound reaction to the listen? Sad and emotional, or happy and upbeat? You sort of mentioned that, touched on that a little bit when talking about noise music, but let's get a little deeper, shall we?
Yeah, when we're talking about, music that really triggers a visceral reaction in the listener, I would definitely say sad and emotional music, because we don't listen to it as often. We don't commonly gravitate towards sad music. We commonly gravitate towards music that, reflect positive emotions because we want to feel positive emotions, or at least most of us do. Mm-hmm. So listening to sad and emotional music, when we do that, it often hits a lot harder because it points out things within life that we often try to avoid. I remember the first time I heard Mount Erie's A Crow Looked at Me, which now has since become like the quintessential sad album.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. The reason that I think that hit so hard for me is not only because, the backstory behind it is devastating, and I'm still struggling to comprehend that, he was able to create an album out of such a horrid experience like that. I think that what made that album hit so hard for me is, the opening line is, "Death is real. Someone's there and then they're not." These are the types of things that you don't often talk about in popular music. And that kind of brutal honesty, it makes listening to an album like that a lot more interesting and a lot more riveting and a lot more profound.
Yeah.
So I think that the thing that makes sad and emotional music spark a more profound reaction is how often we try to avoid sad emotions. So when we are exposed to them within art that expresses them effectively, it hits us a lot harder.
Very good point. That absolutely makes a lot of sense. You really don't want to talk about sad stuff, but when you get the right sad song, shit, ooh, you fall apart.
Yeah, and I love happy music. I really, really do. I know that, if you look back at a lot of my favorite artists, they do commonly make very sad music, especially Radiohead. But, I think that, happy and upbeat music, it's more accessible to the common listener. So if we go over to sad and emotional music all of a sudden, then it's really shocking and it really hurts. And it does spark a lot more of a profound reaction.
Touche.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Good question in Rainstorm.
Yeah, very good question.
This is the last one, guys. Don't fret, but this is the last one. Tommaso Da Vinci wants to know, what's the worst album you've ever heard? Boom. Big question for the end. Bang.
Ooh. Yeah, this is a good question to end on, and it actually connects back to the sad, profound music thing, because the worst album I have ever heard, by far, is Play-Doh Cooked in Tea by Me and Me. Do you know that album?
I do not, but I'm fascinated now.
I think that's for the best. It's really not worth listening to, because it is an album that directly mocks Mount Erie's A Crow Looked at Me. So yeah, it's really bad. So I listened to Me and Me's discography for some reason shortly after that was released, and it was so revolting to me. I understand sort of some of the points that he makes within the music. I guess that, you know, the album is it is all about his wife's death and nothing else. That he does talk a lot about how his wife is dead, but who cares? To make your own album mocking a man in pain, it's disgusting. Even if he does talk a lot about it on the album, he even openly expresses, like, there's a line on one of the songs on A Crow Looked at Me where he says, do people, like, need to keep hearing about my dead wife? He just blatantly says that. So even he, you know, acknowledges that he talks a lot about it on A Crow Looked at Me. So when Me and Me makes a whole album about Phil doing that and it being bad, and it being, you know, self-indulgent and excessive and stupid, and him making the album as a cash grab, he does actually say that. That is horrible. I've never been so disgusted by a piece of music. I mean, if we take a look back at some of the common answers for, like, the worst album ever made, like say, The Shag's Philosophy of the World, it's not really enjoyable, but it's not, like, offensive. It was kids creating music because that was the only thing they knew how to do. They were basically forced to make that album, and as a result, it didn't really sound good. That's what makes that album bad. But what makes Play-Doh Cooked in Tea bad is it takes a beautiful album, an album of, you know, a man venting his frustrations and his pain and his mourning, and it just completely butchers it. It says basically that Phil is a horrible person for making that album. He did it entirely for himself. The messages that the guy says on Play-Doh Cooked in Tea are disgusting. And it is by far the worst album I've ever heard, because it directly contradicts, insults, and tries to ruin one of the best albums I've ever heard. I feel like I just got really, really mad about that.
Yeah, this is the first I'm hearing of this, and that sounds unbelievably shitty.
Yeah. It's bad. Every single song on the album is called My Wife Died.
Oh, jeez.
The whole thing was recorded with an unplugged electric guitar with no discernible chords or melodies, and lines like, and I quote, "I'm glad my wife died so I could have album of the year." That is an actual thing he says on the album.
Yikes.
It's bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good pick, I'd have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I could possibly, you know, say something like Philosophy of the World or, like, Corey Feldman's Angelic to the Core, but, yeah, like, even with those, there is some ironic enjoyment that comes out of those. With Play-Doh Cooked in Tea, it's an insult to the medium of music. I hate it so much.
Yeah, Me and Me, not too cool. No, yeah, that sounds really shitty, actually.
No, yeah, it's bad. It's really bad.
All right, well, hate to get you fired up on the last question, but
No, it's a completely valid question, and I think it's an interesting one to end on, because I talk all the time about music that I love, but, you know, there is also plenty of bad music out there that, you know, needs to be addressed. So
yeah, true.
that was a good question to end on. So thank you very much to Tommaso Da Vinci. Yeah. So thanks to Tommaso Da Vinci for asking that question.
Tommaso's a cool name, but yeah. guys, that's the end of the podcast. Thank you for chilling with me. Patrick, thank you for chilling with me as well.
Oh, absolutely. This has been a wonderful time. This
I
has
love
been
doing
great.
podcasts. Yeah, this shit rocks.
Yeah. Yeah, this is something that I definitely hope to do on, future podcasts in the future, whenever that may be. I really enjoy doing this. This has been a fantastic time.
Yeah, it's fun. So shout out if anyone's looking for the Okayest Computer as a guest. He's looking. Ask his manager. You're your own manager, right?
I don't have a manager.
Yeah.
This is an entirely independent thing. Interestingly enough, I have, sort of thought of, having a video editor, having a manager at some point, but then I realized, I'd have to pay this person, and I don't make a cent off of anything that I post, so that's not going to happen. However, one thing that I do think I will do in the near future is start a Discord server.
Hey.
I've noticed that a lot of my personal favorite content creators and other fellow Instagram accounts, such as Page for Music Chads, they have their own Discord servers, and that seems to be a wonderful time. I'm a member of quite a few of these music-related Discord servers, and I think that it would be a wonderful time to start my own. I have had people say, like, hey, if you need a Discord moderator, I'm open to that. So I do have people that I can choose from. I don't quite know what I would do on the Discord server yet, but it seems like a lot of fun. Yeah. So I do think that sometime in the coming months, I would love to start a Discord server. I think that that would be a lot of fun.
Tumultuous, trying times, interesting music, the worst music, new ideas, and just a whole wholesome lot of good fun. This was a podcast for the ages. Patrick, thank you for joining me here for that podcast.
Yeah, and thank you very much for having me. This has been great.
Yeah, I got you, man. So, and I can't forget to thank the coolest people ever, the ones who are listening to this. If you're listening to it on YouTube, it's on Spotify and major podcasts. Just look up Big Fish Podcast. Same thing if you're doing it flip-flop. If you're on major streaming services, it's on YouTube too. If you want a cool swoosh background to watch, you can do that. Totally either way. But, numbers get popping up. It's still pretty cool. But thank you for joining me on this cool little podcast with cool little Okayest Computer. Check him out. All links to his stuff will be in the description. But yeah, as long as you make sure to enjoy yourself a good laugh from a music meme, then you're all set. So thank you for watching. I do really appreciate it, and have a pleasant day.